All right, so suffering. So I wanted to talk a little more. There's a lot to be said about suffering, um, and I sense that you're all really seeing this as you're focusing in on just what suffering is present. That it's hard to be a human being. It's very hard to be a human being, and I'm I'm kind of touched by that today. A friend of ours died today, a good family friend, not unexpectedly, but my wife Kate was there with him, and and I was with him last Saturday for a while, and it was just obvious, you know, how it's not easy to have a body, especially as the body is kind of coming to its end, and how mysterious it is. These, we show up here, and I mean the whole birth thing is so. First of all, it's suffering. Um, being in, we grow in this warm, moist place, and then suddenly the walls start contracting around us, and we're pushed out through this narrow passageway that actually has to squeeze our head so much the bones kind of go up, and you become a cone head and come out. It's this extraordinarily viscerally difficult experience by which you enter this world, and it's a similar experience for the most part when you leave it. There are some people who leave it in a more gentle way, just like dying in their sleep or something, but mostly it's not. And so, kind of between those two poles, here we are. And um, I find it really helpful to let that in sometimes, just how hard it is to be a human being. I It softens me. And there's a song that I know of. I know Dolly Parton is one of the two people who sing it. I can't remember who the other one is. It's something about everyone's somebody's child, um, as kind of reminding us that everybody that's here came as a baby, grew in a mother's womb, and was once this innocent being that, you know, when you're around a young child, you want like everything good to happen to it. It's kind of a natural way to feel. But you also know that there's a lot of suffering, even in a baby, just the suffering of hunger and the frustration of a 1 year old who can't do that much quite yet, and and then you get into the peer thing, and there's all these expectations, and there's teasing, and there's judgment, and you begin to be socialized. We use these words: good boy, bad boy, good girl, bad girl, to describe behavior, which is just, a little creature trying to figure out this being human, you know? And if they, try to deal with their frustration by hitting another little child, they're bad, and their little hearts are like struck with these sorts of energies coming from the big people, not then eventually coming from their peers as well, of you're not okay the way you are. You're not acceptable. And we all go through this. I don't know anybody who's completely spared. And we begin to adapt, we begin to please, we begin to kind of shove parts of ourselves back that are unacceptable somewhere back there and try to be what people are asking us to be. But in the process, we shut down a whole lot of our energy. And that's suffering. So there's not only the suffering of beginning to feel like some shame about what's here, but then you also kind of lose some of the joy, some of the energy as things go on. And if it's not too extreme, you come out normal, whatever normal means. But even normal is suffering. There's suffering there. It's hard to be a human being. And one of the things that's really hard is we often don't get a lot of help with being with our pain. People don't want you to cry, or they think there's something wrong with you if you can't stifle your own tears. And natural human kinds of ways. I mean, crying is a way to signal to everybody else, I'm in distress, help me, comfort me, An infant knows that. But you try to use that when you're a little bit older, and you get all these sort of funky responses around your attempt to get comfort, your attempt to be seen, have your distress be seen. And, you shut it down to some degree or another. It's part of growing up. We don't learn how to be with our pain. I mean, the way I think that we naturally learn how to be with our pain is somebody else is with us in our pain. Somebody else's heart doesn't abandon us in our pain. And through that, if we have that fortune, that privilege, and I hate to use those words because I actually think it's almost a birthright to have that. But not everybody gets it, really, or gets it only a little bit, not enough. That sense of another human being actually accompanying you in your pain. Then you kind of shove it aside. You don't feel it. But it comes out, you live it, and you show up by the time you're an adult, and there's just a certain amount of unprocessed, undealt with pain inside of you. And you do the best you can. Everybody's doing the best they can. And everybody develops like protector parts of their personality. It's too hard to go through life as open as a child. And it's perhaps natural that we begin to learn skills of how to hide our feelings, how we learn to negotiate this human landscape, how we get other people to like us. And yet down there's a place, and I believe this is in everyone. I haven't found anybody that doesn't have this. A place where we may feel unlovable. That may not be our everyday reality. You might not live with that. Some people do actually live with that in a kind of daily way. But things come out, when you go through a romantic breakup, the unlovable part suddenly comes up in a major way. And so I'm focusing on just that aspect. There's also the whole fear aspect of being human, of, things happen out of the blue. Some people lose their parents as their child, out of the blue. Nobody wanted it, but there it is. And so things happen. We get afraid. We become ashamed. We hide in various ways. We live in a kind of persona. Sometimes we even fuse so much with our persona, we forget other sides of ourselves. And sometimes our persona isn't so helpful. Sometimes the protection that we use, the ways we try to protect us, alienate other people. And we actually get the very thing that we don't want to get. So, mercy to human beings. we have so many levels when we're embodied beings. We have all these different levels to cope with, just how to deal with our physical body in the universe and how to survive. And then, we have this whole sexual level of like relating and being attracted to people and wanting to be attractive, and the kinds of hurt that go around that has to be negotiated. And then around power, about who has power, who doesn't have power, how you get power, how you use power, whether you hurt people with power, whether that gives you more power, power over, power with, that whole dimension of life. We've got to like figure that out. And there's the whole kind of level of the heart. I'm going up the chakras here in case you haven't figured out where this is coming from. There's the whole level of the heart of, attraction, of that felt sense of connection to people, and how in a human being that can be injured through rejection, through not having your love be met in the ways that I was describing, the various ways of shame and feeling unlovable, but also just out of protectiveness. We start to put like armor around our heart. I know when I first started meditating back in the 80s, it was kind of excruciating because part of the meditation, of course, was feeling the body. And I felt like these iron bands around my chest, like squeezing me, holding me in. They were really energetic bands, but they represented something that I had to do in order to feel more safe in the world, a certain kind of restriction of my body. And so it's very hard to know how to be the love that we are in this world, because we are love. We are love wanting to meet and engage and be here. And yet we often don't know how to do it. And we do it through a filter, indirectly. We learn as human beings actually to kind of figure out when there's love present in someone, even though they're doing these funky things. We can even sometimes see it there. It comes through anyway. But it's hard to know how to deal with the love inside of us and the joy. And oftentimes it feels too vulnerable and we shut it down. And then there's a whole aspect of speech. There's the miracle of speech that we even can speak. It's pretty amazing. Other animals have very limited ability to do this. But then, does it get us in trouble? Because now we can, people can know what's inside of us. And oftentimes, it gets people hurt, because what's inside of us comes out, or we're not skillful around our speech. And certain qualities of our mind, like judgment, just come out, and even come out in our tone. So the whole thing of speech and the ability to lie, the ability to not speak well, all the choices that go around speaking, or to say things that will divide others, say things that are harsh, all that stuff around speech. It's such a complicated thing. And then, then there's the mind. Goodness, the mind. It's all over the place, and it's self-absorbed. We start out pretty, self-absorbed. And yet we're also built for empathy. We're both. Think what a mess that makes. You're both supposed to, take care of yourself, and you can feel other people around you at the same time. You're supposed to care about this. You're supposed to care about that. It's a hard thing to do. And then there are all these ideas, these enculturated ideas that we're told, that are also all the good boy, good girl, bad boy, bad girl. kinds of things are all kind of wrapped up in that, or the way things should be, who the good people are, who the bad people are, what makes them good, what makes them bad, and what we have to do to keep them from taking over or whatever. Oh, the mind, the mind. So I think I'm telling you what you already know. Uh, but I thought it was worth, just saying that. And the word that I would introduce, actually two words I would introduce to your practice this week, are mercy and human. I got this directly from my teacher, Jeannie Zandy. I'm stealing her words because they're so good. Mercy. Mercy. So it's particularly helpful if you do something and you like get down on yourself. Mercy. Mercy. I get to mess up. Mercy. Human. And apply to other people. Human. Definitely human. It's human to be this way. So keep using this is suffering, keep using open your heart to it. But I'll add two more little things that and what they do is they open up what Buddhists call right view. They open up the possibility of seeing things clearly from a really skillful place. And it can remove a whole lot of an unwholesome mind state in an instant. If you can just shift to what's called right view, which the word right is a funny word in Pali. It's a musical word. And so I sometimes translate it as in tune view that's actually in tune with what is, with reality. Similar to an instrument that's in tune. If your heart is in tune, it's actually in tune with reality. And letting that actually in the way it actually is. So that's really what these words are opening us to. So have a good week.